Because I'm not navigating patients myself, I can share some of the stories that my navigators have brought to my attention. And the one that really stands out for me was a family. So my navigator was navigating a child. And with a child, obviously, you're navigating a family as well. And just to show that although our navigators are working within the private healthcare system, this particular family, it was noticed that they were all losing weight. And they were losing a lot of weight. And it's one thing if your patient loses weight and you can think, well, I wonder if that's not because of the treatments, etc. But in this particular case, it was because the family was desperately trying to afford to continue to pay the co-payments for those medical insurances. And so they stopped eating. And so navigation included trying to find organizations that would be willing to give gift packs of food to this family to sustain them. And that was a massive success. We don't have a lot of resources. We don't have a lot of organizations that provide these things. But in South Africa, there's Gift of the Givers, and they put these amazing food parcels together for this family that could sustain them on a very practical day-to-day basis so they could eat, so they could get treatment for their son. That for me was amazing. There was a second one I would like to share as well. It's kind of unique to South Africa, and it was one of our patients happened to be a previous political prisoner. We have a very interesting and checkered past. Our political history is not something to be proud of. And this was a gentleman who shared his experiences of his imprisonment within the political system. And it was atrocious, and it was absolutely horrifying and brutal. And how our navigator had to hear these stories, which were not pleasant to hear at all, and have to try and catch her breath and try and find out a way of helping him survive not only his cancer and his cancer treatments, but his history, which was excruciatingly painful to him.
Yes, I would like to share a couple examples that impact my career, my life as a navigator. First of all, I would like to start talking about a case I have here in Dana-Farber in Boston. I have this lady with cervical cancer, stage 2. She just moved from, her country to the United States, doesn't speak English, no finances, no family support. And we help her to get through the treatment. And of course, we have resources, right? So we offer transportation and short accommodation for her to start and finish the treatment. In the middle of her treatment, she broke her son. So now she is supporting her. But the most amazing thing that happens in this case is this woman was always 2 hours early for each appointment. And she always called me. I start my day at 6:30 in the morning. So by 7, she was calling me, Nancy, I'm in the lobby. And I said, but your appointment is 9 o'clock. What are you doing here so early? She finished the treatment. And when she finished the treatment 1 year after, she has a follow-up appointment. She calls me again 2 hours early. She says, Nancy, I'm here in the lobby. I want to talk to you. I says, you again 2 hours early. And I couldn't recognize her. She looks wonderful. She finished the treatment, and she was a different person to me. So she calls me by my name because I wasn't able to recognize her. And that day she says, I want to invite you to have a coffee because I don't want to talk about treatment anymore. And I says, that makes sense. So we had this coffee, and I asked her, why are you always 2 hours early? For the entire treatment, we were supporting you, and you never want to disclose that to me. Do you mind to disclose that now? And she says, well, where I'm living, I had to walk 2 miles to take the train. And I don't want to skip the appointments. Even though you provide transportation, I still want to, use that transportation sometimes, especially for the winter time in Boston. But I don't want to miss the first train from Lawrence to Boston. Then it took 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And I want to be the first one at the door because that's the way it happens in my country. I had to be the first one in the line to get the treatment, so that's part of my culture. She finished the treatment, and I learned that, and that happens also in Guatemala, in my country, that low-income patients has to travel 6-12 hours, perhaps the day after, to be in the front of the hospital in a large line waiting. Yeah. If you don't catch the number, or perhaps the last number, you have to go back next day. And it's interesting that our patients still having treatment and resources, your culture is still with you. So even though you are in the United States and you see you have so many resources, but it's still your culture is leading the way you act. As a navigators, we understand that, and we are the bridges that can share that information with our providers and our team. So we can enhance how providers and team members are working with our patients. As a navigator, you can be a cultural broker, so you can, first of all, understand, validate different cultures, and also to bring that information to our team so we can enhance the services for patients. On the other hand, in Guatemala, I remember when we started our training in 2016, we posted some information in Facebook, and 6 months later, I have a couple navigators chatting with me by Messenger, because that's the way we communicate and it's cheap for them. And they were asking so many information about how to treat a palliative care patient because they don't have that information. And of course, in our first training, we didn't cover that. We just cover basic knowledge and navigation. The second training, we cover caregivers in palliative care. And it was amazing that by text messages, without sharing privacy information from the patient, I was able to support the navigators emotionally, and they were able to support the patient emotionally. And I sent them some information that we have, of course, in our institution about palliative care. So I sent that information to them, how to deal, especially emotionally for them, because this patient was in her last days. And the family member, they don't know what to do. So that was incredible. How now we can use technology just not to face ourselves in Facebook, but also to support others in need. Yeah. And those are some of my, wonderful experiences that I have that impact my career, not just local, but also international.